Hey everybody, welcome to episode 40 of the Hey Everybody podcast, which feels significant, but not too significant. As someone who's getting closer to 40, it's not a big deal. I appreciate you guys coming back this week. I'm going to keep a real close eye on this app here to make sure we don't have a repeat of last week's, I won't call it a fiasco, but that's where the mind goes, isn't it? So yeah, I'm gonna keep a real close eye, and hopefully this will go smooth. And if it cuts out, I'll just start over and we'll make it happen. And soon and very soon, I will get me a new updated phone that can hang with this app better. I hope you guys had a good weekend. Like I said, I shoot these on Mondays, so I'm often still thinking about the weekend when I shoot them, even though most of y'all see this on a Wednesday or later. But we had a good weekend. My lady had a birthday, and celebrating Tori is one of my favorite things because she's worth celebrating. And I love her, and she has made my life worth living. So it was fun to have cupcakes about it. You know what I mean? And me and Ollie got her some presents, and we went out and took a nice walk on a cool trail, and that kind of thing. It's her second birthday under the COVID, cloud, as we'll call it. But I'm not kidding when I say, us three golds, if we're together, it ain't so bad. And we had a good day. And though I am a very insecure gift giver, I don't know if anyone else has that, but like I give the gifts and she likes them, and then I spend the rest of my day going like, oh, I really hope she liked that. And sometimes I ask, I go, did you like it, really? And that can't be a fun way to spend your birthday, going, yes, I liked it, it's fine. Fortunately, she's very sweet because she understands that my brain is broken, and she's gotten very good at putting up with it. I also started voice therapy rehab last week and learned some stuff that has been real helpful so far, and will hopefully learn even more stuff and get back to where I'm trying to be, and that'll be good. Another fun thing we did the day after her birthday is we took a drive. Since more recently, but this past year, that's been one of the things we do for fun when we're bored or antsy. We just take a drive out to nowhere. We get out of the city as quick as we can and just kind of wander around in the country and point out every horse we see. Because I want a horse real bad. I want a light brown horse named Jim. And I don't want to ride him. I just want to sit on him. I envision this world where we live out in the country, because I don't want to live in the city. And I have a horse named Jim. And every morning I get on Jim and I ride up to the top of this hill, and we just sit there and watch the sun come up. And everything's wet and new and cool and quiet. And it's great. And then I spend the rest of my day making music and doing this podcast and drinking coffee and looking at Jim and soaking up all the wisdom in his big black horse eyes. Doesn't that sound good? Don't you want a horse? Oof, I want a horse. That's my new big dream. I want to live out in the country, like 10 miles out of the city, and I want to have a horse named Jim. And maybe Tori can get a horse too. We'll name her Jane, and they can be buddies. And that sounds pretty good, right? Living in the city, and again, if you don't know, I live in a very small, relatively speaking, city of like 75,000 people. And I don't live downtown or anything. But it's just, you go out in the country and you see houses out in the country, and they look like houses. And then you come back and you see where you live, and it looks like something else. And it looks unnatural. Like the houses are just stacked on top of each other. And the other day, Tori and I were sitting on the front porch drinking some coffee one afternoon, and I just pointed out all the sounds. You can hear some people yelling at each other, and you can hear a baby crying, and there's a dog barking, and it's not peaceful, even at home. And I want things to be peaceful. So I want to live in the country with a horse named Jim. Sometimes I say things on the podcast and people very nicely like meet that need. I'll talk about coffee and my friend Lori will send us a bunch of coffee, or I'll talk about poetry, a book I like, and my friend Jenny will send a book that she likes of poetry that's really good. So if anyone wants to send me the deed to a house out in the country or a horse named Jim, I would need them in that order, but I'll take them. Shoot me an email and I'll get you my address. You can send that deed right over. And you can come visit whenever you want. I'll make you biscuits and gravy. Yeah. Thank you sincerely, though, for all the support, the financial support and the kind words about the music and the yakety yak. I appreciate it, and it keeps me going, keeps me doing this. I had this weird moment this weekend, and I was probably just feeling kind of tuned in to family and emotions and stuff because it was my wife's birthday and that kind of thing. But every time Oliver called one of us mom or dad, it sort of resonated differently. And it reminded me, there's an episode of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld. And it's the Dana Carvey episode. And they have this kind of rare, heartfelt moment on that show where Dana Carvey is saying, you know, you go out in the world and 1 million people might say they love you, but only 1 or 2 people call you dad. And I thought that was neat and a great place to get a little lasting identity in a world where I often struggle to find my footing with like who I am and where I am and what I am and all that kind of stuff. And when that little kid calls me dad and calls my wife mom, it feels profound. And after 11 years, I confess sometimes it's easy to forget that it's profound. And I was thankful that this weekend I kept getting reminded, like, man, that's amazing. That's such a big deal. And such like an impossible, incredible thing that she and I have done. And I'm real thankful to be with them all the time. So, anyway, speaking of not knowing who I am or what I am, I had a weird thing happen. As you've probably heard, live music is coming back. When, we do not know, and how, we are not sure. But for some reason, people are talking about it a lot. There's not a ton of information at hand, but people are talking about it, and offers are coming in as people are getting vaccinated and things like that. I get my second dose tomorrow, or if you're watching this on Wednesday, I got it yesterday. Time is a construct, and this podcast is a perfect example of it. But by the time you see this, I will have my second dose, and I feel good about that. But some offers are coming in, and I turned down my first offer, and it was a strange feeling after more than a decade of across the board yeses. Unless there's something at hand that I object to morally, if you offer me a show, I'd take it. And we will figure out the money and the time and all that stuff later, if ever. But after a year off, I got to thinking about what I do and what I'm trying to do and what feels good. And thought about this podcast a lot. And what about this podcast feels really good? It's not that it's a runaway success, and it's not that I make a ton of money off of it. It's that it connects with people and maybe helps them and makes them feel a way that I hope people can feel sometimes. And I started thinking about the songs that I write and the shows that I play, like my best shows. When everything lines up perfectly and I can put on the exact show I want to put on, what does that show look like? And it's not possible to do at every place. And so I turned down some money to play a show that I knew was not going to be the kind of show I want to play. And that was hard for me because it, financial security, first of all, obviously. And second of all, you have within you this need to be like a hard-working musician and who says yes to everything and who's always out there just hustling and playing his songs and But what if I don't write those songs? You know, it's hard to show up to some places knowing that you have a bunch of songs about, you know, the greatest love of your life and the miracle of parenthood and depression and sadness and joy and death and hopefully just real things and even jokes and stuff that you need to deliver to people, and then show up to a place and immediately know like, it's not going to happen. They're not even going to turn the TV off. And I just feel like after talking it over with Tori and my dad, everybody kind of thinks like now is the moment to make it a bit clearer what it is you do and why you do it and what you're aiming for. And that's going to mean saying no to some stuff. And hopefully it'll mean new opportunities come up. Hopefully these shows that I turn down will be replaced by either other shows, house shows, more intimate shows, or even, you know, maybe somehow this podcast one day will become like a reliable source of income. And that would be fantastic, because that's what I want to do. I want to play music all the time. I want to write songs and sing songs for people. But I want to do it in a way that connects with people and that honors the songs that I've gotten and that kind of thing. So sometimes I guess that'll mean saying no thank you. And that's scary and hard. But I try to imagine like there's all kinds of jobs that you can be passionate about, but there would be a time and a place where it wouldn't be right to do it. And, you know, I imagine like if you're a gourmet chef, you wouldn't, you know, take a job in the kitchen of a racetrack or something. And it's not to say that I'm a gourmet chef or that there's anything all that special about what I do. It's just when there is something special about what I do, when something notable happens, when I get that email or comment like, oh, that song helped me, that song mattered to me, I'm trying to put myself in more scenarios where that could be a possibility. I'm not too good to work and I'm not above anything. It's just, I don't have the kind of show for every kind of place. And I do have a kind of show that works in certain places, and I have a kind of approach that makes for a decent podcast sometimes. And I would like to try to invest more of my energy in that. So, to that end, I'm going to try to do some backyard house shows coming up soon, and I will talk to y'all about that some other time, because it would be fun to do this in person. You know, you could invite 10 friends over, and I could play you some songs and tell you some stories and some jokes, and we could have some fun. Yeah. The other thing that's happening with live music coming back is a lot of these old feelings of stress and competition and dissatisfaction and feeling overlooked or feeling wrongly compared. You know, a lot of people think, oh, he has a guitar and he writes songs, and that guy has a guitar and he writes songs, so they're the same. And, you know, I disagree. I don't think anyone's necessarily better than anybody else. That's not true. I think lots of people are better than other people. I'm just not supposed to say it, because that implies that maybe sometimes I think I'm better than other people. And even if that's true, I'm not supposed to tell you. I don't think anyone's better than anyone. I just think we're different. We do different things, and those different things have different applications. You know, is a hammer better than a wrench? It depends what you're trying to do. So there's that. But as those feelings of competition and, you know, measuring my value against the offers coming in and my value against what the offers other people are getting, and all this terrible stuff, this yucky stuff that I remember from a year ago, as it comes back, I try to remind myself that you could zoom in to like the cellular level And nothing has changed from a month or 2 months or 6 months ago or a billion years ago. You could zoom out to a universal level, and nothing has changed from a month or 6 months ago or 100 years ago. You have to zoom to this really precise point to get to my brain and my ego and my emotional state for these things to matter. And that takes a lot of effort, it would seem. So I'm trying to focus on zoomed all the way in and zoomed all the way out, the consistency of it. And then if I'm going to zoom in on specifically me and specifically my tiny life and my little blip of an existence, I'm trying to think less about my career and my job and my art and my money and all that stuff, and think more about how it feels when this kid calls me dad, and how it feels when this woman says she loves me, and how it feels when one person on the podcast says, oh, I needed to hear that song and it meant a lot to me, and I'm glad you did it. You know, that stuff feels elemental and permanent and real, and I want my life to be about that stuff. Unfortunately, the rent is still due, and I got to figure that stuff out too. So, I'm doing my best to try to figure it out, and if coming here and hearing me talk about it helps you at least feel less alone while you try to figure it out, well, that is the point. So I'm glad you're here. Tell you what else I'm glad about. Ooh, we had a local election here, and it's over. Cue the gospel choir as the sun comes through the clouds. Hallelujah! The election has passed. Ooh, yes, it has. Oh, I hated it. And I'll tell you why I specifically hated this one. I voted. You're supposed to vote, and I did. And I voted Democrat across the board, as I do. Because as I've said before, even if it is the lesser of two evils, of course you would want less evil. Pick the lesser of two evils. Stop asking me dumb questions. But this round in particular, I noticed both sides doing the same stuff. The same things that I don't like on one side, I saw on the other side. And the positions are different, and the things that they say that they will do are different. But it seemed to me that the way they were trying to get to that place where they could do those things was the same. And I realized that my problem with politics nowadays is the order in which we receive them. Which I mean personally how we get our politics, our personal political views. I believe, and I am right, I believe that it should start with a feeling in your gut, in your soul, a feeling of right and wrong and truth with a capital T. And this is what I feel in my bones is proper and improper and right and wrong and true and false. Then you take that feeling and you are told, hey, there's a political system and a process by which we choose our leaders and that kind of thing. You got to pick a side. You should hold up that feeling against each side and compare it, and pick the side that most closely matches that feeling that you wake up with every day. And people do it backwards. It seems to me that more and more people go, well, these are my politics, you see. I am a Democrat. I am a Republican. And as such, this is how I will feel. And because we do that, it opens up this doorway for all kinds of shenanigans where there is no right and wrong. There's sides. And if their side does it, it's horrible. It's objectionable. It's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. If our side does it, well, it's a gray area, you know? Life's complicated, and that's a difficult job to do. And we don't always know exactly, you know, I wouldn't want to judge people. And, you know, otherwise they're a good leader. They're a good person, you know, they're right for the job. And would you rather have the other guy? And upon realizing that, I can't stop seeing it. And it's driving me crazy. I was upset about it the other day. I was talking to my wife, and I was animated. I was angry, because I hate it. It's no way to live. It's not the way the world should be, and it bothers me. And it keeps us from actual growth. If everything is motivated by our gut and our feeling and our emotions and our thoughts and our brains and our experience, we can and should change. If everything else is based on, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm something else, then you don't get to change. You get to be told what to think and what is okay and what's not okay. And this was all kind of underlined by a notable death. And I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to bug people that are mourning a loss that was worth something to them. But, a musician passed away who got famous saying terrible things, really awful things. But because we liked his music, it's okay. And there's so many other musicians that we hate that have said things that don't even compare to what this guy said. But we hate them because we're Democrats and they're Republicans, or because we're atheists and they're believers, or because we're this color and they're that color. And none of it's real. None of it's based on what you really think or what you really feel. And I hate it. And that's why I come back to this podcast and my relationship with my family and these old wooden guitars and black coffee and what's real and how do I feel about what's real. And I would never encourage anyone to be less engaged politically, but I would encourage you to be more useful politically. And what I'm starting to realize is I vote. And maybe that's the extent of my involvement in politics, because the rest is kind of bullshit, if you'll pardon the term. Now, there are social issues that we have unfortunately politicized that shouldn't be politicized, that we shouldn't stop working on. I think a lot of times when you say, I'm gonna try to back off of the politics, people go like, well, what about this? And I go, that's not politics. That's someone's life. I care about that. Gay rights are not political to me. They're moral. I'm not backing off my morals. I'm backing off the news and watching two idiots say the same idiotic stuff to each other until I turn into an idiot too. Or maybe next week's episode will be all about politics because it's so important. I don't know. I trust at this point that people know that there's something fluid going on here. And that they tune in any given week to see what I think and feel that given week and see if it in some way interacts with how they feel, either because it's the same or because it's different, and that matters too. They also might maybe tune in to hear a song, so let's play a song. We're still in our fun open tuning, and we're going to play a song called Coming Home. I had a faraway show that we were driving to, me and my wife, and I made a joke. We were driving through this part of the world where I said, it feels like we're in like the fold of the map right now. Like it was real desolate and rusty and scuzzy and kind of beautiful in a way, but And so this song is just about being out there and playing shows and coming back to my lady. I wanted to sing a song for my missus today. Also, I don't really do fiction anymore. So if you hear me do a sad song, it was written about something that made me really sad. And if you hear me do a happy song, it was written about something that made me really happy. And if you hear me sing a love song, it's about my wife. I have not ever written a love song for anybody else. So it's also why I don't do fake heartbreak songs, because my heart ain't broke. My heart might be the only part of me that ain't broke. So here's a lovely little love song from a lady and the road, and it goes like this. Traveled where the map folds just beyond these power lines and these 2-year-old billboards, 2 hours from Toledo, 2,000 miles from home. I've been in the middle of the city, but I was only passing through, shaking off traffic to get the skyline past us, just trying to make my way to you. I keep coming home to you. I keep coming home to you. As long as you're there, it's home for all I care. I keep coming home to you. If we get to West Virginia, we'll be halfway to the coast. You'll see the way that I stare with that salted breeze in your hair. You'll know who loves you the most. I keep coming home to you. I keep coming home to you. As long as you're there, it's home for all I care. I keep coming home to you. I keep coming home to you. All right. That was fun. I like that song. It was the closing song on a record of mine called Whichever Way Home, which I have a lot of tender feelings for. And while we were rehearsing the record, it was just a bluegrass song. And the night before we went in the studio, no one was really feeling it. And the night before we went in the studio, I cracked it and I called the guys, said, hey, let's meet up. I got an idea. And I had this new open tuning way of playing it. And I told my drummer, like, just hit like a kick drum. And I told my guitar player, like, just take it into outer space. And if you listen to the recording, it's real ethereal and dreamy and woozy, and I love it. It's one of my favorite moments of that era of the band, and just how like tasteful and great those guys were on those songs. Speaking of songs, let's do some recommendations. First up today, the Felice Brothers. This record is called Undress. It might be Felice Brothers. I think it's Felice, though. Anyways, this is their most recent record. And they're kind of like a folk country band. And you're going to get some abstract lyrics and a lot of Dylan-esque kind of stuff, both vocally and lyrically. But, oh, it's beautiful stuff. And this record in particular is beautiful. I've been listening to it for a few days straight now. I've had it for a long time, but when I decide to recommend something, I listen to it a bunch to try to really get into it. But check out TV Mama. Oh, you're going to get some sad pedal steel, which is the key to my heart right there. You can also check out Nail It on the First Try. Nail It on the First Try is a remarkable feat. It's 2 minutes long. It's mostly instrumental. There are 5 lines in the song, and he only sings for about 30 seconds. And it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. So check out TV Mama, or Nail It on the First Try, or Special Announcement, or Undress. Oh, listen to the Felice Brothers. So good. So very good. Also, I didn't do this on purpose. This is Wesley Schutlz. The record is called Vignettes. I got it for my wife for her birthday. He's the singer for the Lumineers. But all their records, and this one as well, are produced by Simon Felice, former member of the Felice Brothers. And this is a covers record, and he even does a Felice Brothers song on the record. But it's nice. It's very sparse and spare, and it's mostly acoustic guitar and piano. But he picked some great songs. He does My City of Ruins, which is one of my favorite Springsteen jams. He closes with Keep Me in Your Heart, which is just, it's such a beautiful thing. It's by Warren Zevon. And he writes a little bit about why he chose every song inside here in the artwork. And he talks about what a great funeral song "Keep Me in Your Heart" is, and he ain't wrong. It's a beautiful, beautiful tune. And he does "Operator" by Jim Croce, possibly the best song ever written. I'm going to do a whole half-hour podcast one day about "Operator" by Jim Croce and the genius therein. He does Mrs. Potter's Lullaby by Counting Crows. You can't beat it. So listen to "Keep Me in Your Heart." Check out that record. I think you'll dig it. And finally, bear with me here, because this is going to get weird. This book is called Green Lights, and it's by Matthew McConaughey. All right. I heard him on a podcast talking about this book, and I've heard other musicians, notably Noel Gallagher, formerly of Oasis, talk about meeting him and how much they love him. And he just seems like a dude. So I asked for this book for Christmas, and I got it. And I read it. I started reading it last week, and there are a couple things. I caught myself kind of rolling my eyes at some of it, and it was kind of silly, and there were moments where he talked about his childhood that I felt differently about his childhood than he did. He looked at it fondly, and I was like, that's abusive, man. And he addresses that later in the book. But what happened was I was thinking all this stuff, and then a day or two later, I had read the whole book. And I don't agree with everything in the book, and I don't necessarily think everything in the book is as profound as maybe we're meant to think it is. But this is a good book, and there's some truth in this book, and there's some profound stuff in this book, and I've taken a lot from it. And notably, it has fallen in line with this thing I've been trying lately, which is go places I might not normally go, like an actor's autobiography or a book written by a pastor or something, and see if I can find some truth in it, something real to take out of it. Because if I can go somewhere that I wouldn't naturally go and still find something true, it must be that much more true. And I love this book, and I want to hang out with Matthew McConaughey. I think he's a good dude. So check it out, Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. It'd be a lot cooler if you did. That was a quote from a movie that he was in. Anyways, I hope you guys are good. I hope you have been good. I hope you continue to be good and do good. And I hope you enjoy this. And I'm going to keep doing them. And hopefully soon I can come to your house and play you some of these songs. That's it. Be good. I love you. Take it easy. Bye.